to. But what we're really going to talk about today is the 7 secrets of how you can use podcasting to build a powerful personal brand. And just a couple of years ago, I was really new to podcasting. In fact, I'd never been on one. And someone was like, "Oh, could you be a guest?" I was like, "Oh, I don't really know. I'm all a bit nervous. It's all a bit new." And I remember having one of my first ever interviews, and it kind of blew my mind because I was sat there. It was 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night in my kitchen, and it was 7 a.m. in Melbourne, Australia, on a Thursday. And I was like, I'm not even on Thursday yet. I'm on Wednesday. So how do you even make this comprehend? But we were smack bang in the middle of lockdown. And lockdown taught us many things, one of which is the art of pivoting, the art of going and doing something different, of trying something else. And we know that we live in a very crowded market. And one of the things that we're desperately trying to do these days is stand out from the crowd. And we know that people want to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And podcasting is an amazing way of getting people to know you, like you, and trust you, because you're welcoming them into your world. So we're going to kind of run through a little bit of what I've learned, what I've done, and how I managed to move from having never been on one in my life to now producing them and streaming them out through the likes of Roku, Amazon, Apple. So we now not only do podcasts, we stream, and we've partnered with organizations globally, which is amazing. And I'm very, very proud. One of which is one of Linda's other amazing Leadership Global community, Zondra Evans. So we're doing a partnership piece. But it really does demonstrate the art of the possible and how you can use podcasting to really set yourself out and start to really broadcast your brand. So I'm going to stop talking about me and let's get into the presentation. So the first part is actually, how do we utilize that podcasting to build that powerful brand? It's now an essential part of success in today's digital strategy. So it really does need to be in there, whether it's running one or being part of one, going and guesting. You want it to be there. All brands or products in all kinds of sizes haven't yet used this tool to its full potential, but they're starting to. And we're starting to see people move into that difference between, should I blog? Should I podcast? Should I vlogcast? And for me, and we'll talk about this later on today, do all of them once. So if you're smart, you can create one piece of content that actually allows you to turn it into a blog, turn it into a podcast, turn it into a vlogcast, and turn it into numerous snippets of social media. And as we know, when we're striving these days for social content and remaining relevant, the ability to have usable and reusable content is king. It allows entrepreneurs and thought leaders to connect and engage with their potential customers, whilst also giving them that all-important additional content to share across their already established platforms and the emerging ones. So LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If you're like me, you know, we've all been in that entrepreneur space where people are saying you just need more content, you just need more stuff that you can go and talk to people about, but you want it to remain on message and it wants to be consistent. So building your own podcast, vlogcast, and digital media stream off the back of it allows you to be really consistent in the messaging that you're giving to people. It allows you to add value with every interaction, and it allows you to stand out from the crowd because you're helping them get to people that they wouldn't get to before and learn things that are going to help them and their business. So if we look at the podcasts are growing at an alarming speed. As of 2021, there are over 2 million podcasts and over 48 million podcast episodes. And if you think that's a startling growth when there was only 500,000 active podcasts just 3 years ago. So we can see the impact the pandemic's had. There's a real strive for people to be able to get digestible, usable information that they can actually get however they want it. And podcast is a great way of doing this, keeping it into those bite-sized spaces where people can pick it up, they can read it. It's why Audible's grown so much You can be doing it while you're doing something else. And that's one of your key things. What you're wanting to be able to do is get to your customers when they've got a bit of free space, even if they don't know they've got free space. So through a podcast, what you're able to do is engage them in something that is entertaining, it's informative, it's educational, it solves a problem for them. But more importantly, it makes them think of you. And you'll be amazed where that takes you. So if we think about, again, that growth at the alarming speed, a further survey done in 2021 shows that 6 in 10, more than 57% to be exact, of consumers above the age of 12 in the USA have listened to at least one podcast. And that's growing, and that's replicated around the world, which gives you a great opportunity to reach your future clients, not just today, but the ones of the future, and to grow a loyal following. So you can start to think about using your podcast as an opportunity to gain additional income. I love a quote. Linda knows this of me. So my quote for today was from Warren Buffett, and reputation really is everything. So it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, you'll do things differently. And the reason I've put this in here is very often when we start thinking about how do we broadcast ourselves, how do we build our PR, how do we get our message out there, we start in the wrong place. We start thinking about how do I get my message out there? How do I get known? How do I go and speak to more people? And what you really need to do is switch that on its head and say, who is it that I'm here to help? Who is it that I'm here to serve? What do they need to hear? And how do I get that to them? Because the minute you start thinking of it from that end, from the who we're here to serve, from the how we're going to help them, it all becomes significantly easier. And it means that we actually create something that people want to be part of because we're solving their problem rather than solving ours. And I meet lots of entrepreneurs where we start off, we chat to them about what they're looking for, and we go and set up their podcasts or we interview them on ours. And it's like, you're starting with what you want. You need to start with what your client wants, because if you can work with what your client wants, you're going to get more clients because they want a problem solver, and they need to know that you know their problem rather than the other way around. So that's one of probably the most important things when we're thinking about what we've learned in the last 3 years of growing podcasts. And I've been very fortunate in the fact that I've been able to interview amazing people from around the world, either that have overcome extreme difficulties. I've interviewed some Paralympians, some OBEs, some MBEs. One of our podcasts has even got Hollywood luminaries on it. And who knew when we started this that we would end up having some of those conversations? But when you start thinking about what is it we're trying to solve, what is it our clients want to hear, and working back from that, it really does help you build that consistency. So why should you have a podcast strategy? Well, it builds brand awareness. It allows you to generate and maintain leads. It implements social listening. One of the main things that the pandemic drove in all of us was a desire to remain connected, to not feel isolated, to feel like we were in it with other people. And therefore, having people that get us, that understand us, that can help us is becoming vitally important as we try and reconnect in what has become a very digitally connected world, but perhaps less physically connected than it was before. So it is an extremely important strand of your communication as your organization. It allows you to link social posts to opportunities. The next two sound very similar, but they're really important. It builds brand authenticity. So they get to see you as you are. They get to connect with you. They get to understand what's important to you, what's your message, and they get to see you every episode turning up and being the same. They get to see how you engage with other people, get to see that content. But it also builds you brand authority because people can start to see that there's a consistency of message, that you've got knowledge out there, that actually when you're interviewing other people, not just interviewing yourself, that you know your stuff, you know what you're talking about, that you are somebody worth talking to. It allows you to grow your audience and build your community. And it creates great additional income streams. I regularly now get calls from people who've heard one of my podcasts and then want to know if I can go and do a keynote for them, or if I can appear on a panel, or if I can go and support a group function that they're facilitating, because they've seen you regularly enough to know that you know your stuff, that they're going to get some value from it. That actually, I've done a few where I've been asked by the likes of IBM to just be a friendly interviewer. They've seen what you've done and gone, we just need somebody nice that's going to go and interview this person, that's not going to trip them up, that's going to allow us to get their message over. And that's an amazing thing for me to be able to say that I've created as a result of what was a bit of an experiment, if I'm honest, into podcasting and going, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, but what's the harm? You can learn amazing skills as well. If I look at my last 3 years in this world, I didn't know anything when I went on my first podcast. I think I got my audio horrendously wrong. The sound was dreadful. The lighting was awful. I didn't know how to edit. And yet now I run an organization where we run them for other people. We design the artwork, the intros, the outros. We get them subtitled. We put them out across TV studios as well as across podcast studios. And we can turn the whole thing around really quickly. But it's been a journey to go and learn that. But an amazing journey, and one that's lovely to share with people, to say, do you know what? I'm an ex-hairdresser that I thought I was a technophobe, and now actually it turns out I quite like technology. And it can do some amazing things for us if we just have somebody that can show us those simple steps. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. We just need to see where that is. And the other beauty is there's such a range in what you do. You can just go and guest for somebody else. You can set up your own, or you can have somebody else set up your own. So there really is streams of support out there dependent on where you are. But let's keep going. So what is the secrets, the 6 secrets to turning podcasting into your secret sauce? The first one is start out as a guest. Research the shows that are going to appeal to your audience. What are the things that your potential clients, your dream clients, are looking for? What problems are they encountering? And there's some amazing resources that you can use to get to those. There's one that is completely free, which is great, which is called Answer the Audience. And that actually goes and screenshots everything that is being asked right now on Google about a topic that you're interested in. So, for example, one of the things, as Linda mentioned, I run International Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day. So I go into Answer the Audience and I put in imposter syndrome, and it tells me all of the questions from around the world that are being asked right now and how many people are asking them, which allows me to then utilize that to make sure that the blogs that I'm writing, that the podcasts that I'm talking on, or the podcasts that I'm running are answering those questions. It allows me to ensure that I've got great SEO that's going in the back end that allows me to really drive back into that traffic. But more importantly, it allows me to actually help the people I'm here to help. They're the questions they're asking. They're the people that I'm trying to get in touch with, that I'm trying to support. So finding resources like that are amazing. If you're also looking at becoming a guest, there's another great resource. And I'm going to tell you now, it's going to sound like a dating site, and I promise you it is not a dating site, but it is called matchmaker.fm. And it's, again, a free resource where you can go and put your profile up, either because you've got a show and you're looking for guests, or because you just want to be a guest on a show. You want to tell them what it is that you want to talk about. You want to ask them if you can actually get out there and be heard by their audiences. So it's a great first resource to be able to go and research those shows, reach out to that show host, pitch your message, and hopefully get yourself heard. And it's global. So you can end up on podcasts all around the world. And it can then help you later on if you decide to build your own podcast, which is you can find those guests. It enables you to gain reach, and done effectively can use lots of reusable content for your existing media platforms. Things that I would recommend when you're going out to seek to be a guest is asking them what you can expect to be included in the episode. You are giving them valuable content. Now, some podcasts will charge you for that if they've got the reach, because what they're giving you is great PR and great broadcasting. And that's fine, but know what it is you're getting into. If they're not able to give you the reach, the publicity, the additional media, what you're actually giving them is content, in which case you want to make sure you're getting the right backlinks, you're getting the social media handles that are in there, and you've got a message that you want to get out there. Think about what you might want to offer to their audience as a thank you for having listened in. One of the things that I do if I go on and guest for other podcasts is write a letter to the audience and ask them if they will submit that in the show notes, which is really just a personal letter from me to say thank you for listening, reminder of the key points that I've talked them through, and give them an offer of a reduction, a discount or freebie of something in return for having given me their time to listen to me. All of that's a great way of getting people to move into your content. So we've now moved past being starting as a guest. Jumped to. So the next one is to start thinking about your own. And this is really about understanding your audience, researching what it is that's important to your potential customers. And we want to break that traditional view that customers have of you or your company that only tries to sell to them. You really want to get in their head. What are they looking for? What are their biggest challenges? What's keeping them awake at night? That you can become their friend, their partner, their person to go to that's going to give them this advice, that's going to create a more personal customer experience, that's adding value with every episode, that allows you to build that loyal fan base. It really is about thinking about who you're trying to appeal to. So I personally run, of my own, 5 podcasts, not to mention the ones I run for other companies. And you might go, why 5? do you just have a lot of time on your hands? But the reason I run 5 is they are very bespoke. They are appealing to particular clients that are looking for particular needs. So I've got one, for example, which is on imposter syndrome, which is really about that mindset, that overcoming anxiety, the overcoming overwhelm. But that would switch off a lot of my potential clients. That's actually a not-for-profit piece of work that I'm really genuinely passionate about. But I know that that's not what a lot of my corporate leaders are going to want to talk to me about. So if I try and merge those into one podcast, I'm going to split my audience. So being very clear, very clean on what it is that you're looking to talk to people about is a great way of making sure that you build that authenticity, you build that brand knowledge, you build that awareness. And then what you can do is invite them to your other podcasts and say, if you enjoyed this one, you might want to check out some of our other series. But be very clear when you're starting to think about what your podcast is about. Who's it for? What's it there to do? What are you going to get as a result for committing their time to listen to your podcast? Because all of those is going to be what helps your show stand out from the others and really grow that impact that you're having. And move on to secret 3, which is true of everything that we do. Ensure that we've got efficient content. Quality is crucial. And in content, there's no exception. You want to make sure that what you're giving them adds value, that they can take something away from it, that it's actionable. It's great to hear inspirational stories, but you want to ensure that your guests are able to give them a couple of implementable things that they can put into action immediately. So they don't just go, oh, I went away feeling great. It's like, I went away feeling great and I did something. I moved forward. I overcame whatever hurdle it was that I was feeling. And high quality guests can really help bring the right customers at the right time and keep your clients engaged. The other beauty of it, which I've included in here as one of the secrets, is it's amazing what opportunities you get from talking to your guests. The amount of consulting work I've ended up achieving as a result of having a good quality conversation with my guests and just transpiring that one of the things that they're facing right now in their organization is something that I'm gifted in, and can therefore go, I can help you with that. Why don't we have a coffee? Let's have a chat. And it wasn't intentional. I didn't have them on my show because I was trying to sell to them. I had them on my show because they had a message that appealed to my client. But they're going through life as well, and they will face their own challenges. So always be open-minded to listening to that conversation, understanding what that person's going through, and seeing how you can navigate that to best help them. So for me, secret 4 is my biggie. So we hear people say, should I podcast? Should I vlogcast? Should I do a blog? Done well, I believe you do one of them once and you turn it into the rest. So when I do any of mine, and I do this for my clients as well, we always do it as a recorded video. The reason for that is it allows me to immediately turn that into video that can be streamed across the TV channels that I've got connections with. It allows me to turn it into the audio that can go onto all of the podcasts. It allows me to get it transcribed and put the subtitles on it, which allows them to demonstrate their desire to be inclusive and reach another audience that would be missing from just audio or video without those subtitles. So it really drives that diversity and inclusion piece. And it allows me to then turn it into a variety of other bits of content. So I can do shorts for them that go out on social media. I turn them into a blog. So they might have done the video, but when we're talking through one of my clients is, as you know, Linda, one of the other Leadership Global community. And for her, what we do is we do the interview and then we turn it into a blog of which we go into more detail. She's in the investment world, and she talks through a lot of really detailed terminology. So when I'm writing her blogs off the back of the podcast, we'll go into the detail of that terminology, or we'll go and find other articles from the likes of Forbes or Wall Street Journal that bring to life what's important to her audience. And then what we do, because it's all about reusing that content as much as possible, because people might need to see it 4 or 5 times before it registers to them. So if you do this really well, I'll take a video and it will turn into a video, a TV stream, a podcast that goes out globally, a blog, and then it will become an element of our newsletter that goes out monthly as well. So you're constantly reminding people, because it's about getting to them at the point where they're ready to hear your message. But you're doing it in a very engaging way, because it's not like saying I've got one thing and I just keep sending it out to you. It's like, here I am Monday again, and I'm bringing it back to you. It's saying I'm bringing it back in a slightly different way. I'm giving it to you in a different medium. I'm giving it to you with slightly different content, or with something that's slightly additional, but so that you can actually re-engage with it, which really cements yourself as that thought leader. As I say, we know content is king. As entrepreneurs, one of the biggest challenges we've got is how do we keep creating content? And if you look at some of the most successful people out there that are brilliant at creating content, or if you've ever paid attention to when you like their stuff, I did a bit of a survey on this, and I used to really like a couple of these people. Naval is one of them. I love what he's got to say, and I would constantly be liking it and then thinking, didn't I not like that recently? And yeah, I did, because actually some of these people that have got the most amazing followings, that have grown huge businesses, don't have new content. What they do is they keep replacing the content that they've got so that it captures a new audience at the right time. So it's not always about doing more, it's about being consistent and having that message. By doing both podcast, vlogcast and blog, what you're able to do is connect to your audience irrelevant of their personal preference. And there's worth knowing that people don't only have a channel of choice, they have a channel of choice dependent on time. So, for example, my preference might be to watch videos. However, if I'm on a crowded train, I might not really want to sit and watch a video. I might rather just plug my headphones in and listen to what's going on. Or I might want to watch the video but not listen to the sound because I haven't got my headphones. So I just want to read the subtitles as I go. So the more that you can create your content into as many mediums as possible with the lowest amount of input from you, because this is not suddenly turning it into something where you're like, but that's a full-time job of his own. You can create the right infrastructure and the right systems that allow this to work for you. And as I say, adding in those subtitles really helps you to appeal to a more diverse audience and allows you to get to people that might not get to you otherwise. What you don't want to do is be put on their pending pile, which is where they go, I want to look at that, but I'll do it at the weekend because I've got time to listen now. I've not got my headphones. If you can create that video and those subtitles, they can put it on mute and watch it wherever they are. Secret 5 is it allows you to create a community for your audience. And for me, this is one of the biggest ones. We're desperate these days for community. We're social animals and we were socially distanced for too long. It's one of the most tragic things that I think we came up with as terminology during the pandemic. I think we should have said physically distanced, not socially distanced, because we needed to be socially connected and physically distanced. And it's driven a real desire globally for people to want to be part of community, for people to want to feel that there is a connection and that they're part of it. They're not just observing it. So one of the beauties of podcasts, vlogcasts, all of these that we're talking about today, is it allows you to ask them questions, get their opinions on specific matters. One of the greatest ways of building what to talk about next on your podcast or your vlogcast is to do a Twitter poll or a LinkedIn poll that says, I'm just interested talking to my clients. These are the 3 things that seem to be coming up the most. Do they resonate or is there number 4? And if there is, what is it? Because then when they come back, you can go, thanks so much for all of your input. As a result of the great feedback that you've got, we're about to do a special to answer this question that you've brought up. So thank you very much. They love to be part of it and they want to feel involved. And if you depend on what platform you choose to use. So personally, I use a platform called StreamYard because that allows me to go out either live or pretend live. So pretend live is where I've pre-recorded it and then I've set it up as a live and I'm there, but I'm playing a pre-recorded video. But it means that when people are engaging with you on any of the platforms, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Twitter, whether that's Facebook, whether that's YouTube, I can respond real time. I can put their comments up on the screen so that they can see that they're part of the show. And that's a huge way of gaining that engagement. You're sharing trusted information. You're sharing bits about you. There are elements of being slightly more open and slightly more vulnerable because they want to connect with you, not just your products, your goods, or your service. But it also allows them to interact directly during the show, to have an input, to have a say. And that can be invaluable. Again, I've ended up having people that have connected with me during a show that have become clients or that have become guests and then become clients just because they got engaged, or that they now start to go out there and share your content and put it out there for other people to see. And it's understanding the reach that they can get you to. So as a result of the kind of podcasts that I do, I now end up getting speaking work. I've been invited to judge at certain events, do a whole additional income stream that wasn't part of my business because I wasn't a podcaster. I was a businesswoman and coach who was just trying to stand out in a crowd of coaches. I live in a world where every man and his dog is a coach. So it's really hard to sometimes stand out and say, so why me? Why would you come here rather than anywhere else? And a large part of that was just trying to share that story and say, this is what I do. For some people, it will work. And for some people, I won't be what you're looking for. And that's absolutely fine. It's about helping you decide where to go. And this is probably one of the biggest anomalies that I've learned in the whole piece about branding, is your brand should work as hard to repel the people that aren't for you as it does attract the people that are. And that sounds so counterintuitive, because when we're setting up our business, when we're getting out there, we don't repel anybody, do we? We want everybody to come to us because we want to build that business. But some people just aren't your people. And if you get it right, it makes it very easy for people to say, okay, that's right, but that's not for me, which makes it so much easier for people to come in and say, that is for me. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That person gets me. So really trying to, and that's where that community piece comes from, that feeling like you know me, you understand me, and therefore you can help me, is what people are looking for today. And I think that is one of our other challenges, is you used to be able to be a generalist, but these days you can find somebody that's niched down into anything. So if you're too general, then I just want to go and get the expert. So I'll go and get this person over here who's an expert in this, and I'll get that person over there who's an expert in something else. So being clear what it is you do and what it is you don't do. I'm very clear. I am a coach, but I don't do life coaching. I wouldn't dare dream of it after the life I've had. Consider telling anybody I might be able to help them with their challenges. But I do business coaching, but I know a lot of coaches who can help them with the other parts, which is a case of saying, I can help you in these bits, and I know people that can help you with the others, but I'm clear where my boundaries are and where I define myself, which is crucial for helping customers find you. So that brings us on to secret number 6, which is broadcasting your brand. So how do you actually get out there and start to get yourself known? This includes attracting sponsors for your show, and that can be in a number of ways, either having somebody sponsor a series, sponsor the entire show, or just want to put an advert in the middle of your show. This can be a great way of aligning with other partners that can build you out there. It allows you to go and connect with things that you never thought you were going to be able to. As I say, just in the last year, through partnerships, from having done podcasts, having learned some of these things, I now get to say I'm on IMDb, I'm through Apple, I was Woman of the Year. Some amazing things have happened as a result of doing it, which wasn't why I did it, but has come off the back of it. So if you're thinking, I'm not really sure what it's going to bring me, I can only say from my experience, you don't know what it's going to bring you, but I promise you it's worth it. You get some amazing conversations, you get inbound traffic daily, where people are reaching out to you because you've got credibility and authority. Having a highly engaged podcast can result on getting on an IMDb page, which is amazing when we think about the backlinks and the reach that has on Google. So it is great for your websites, great for your credibility. And it's also how you reach a younger audience, because millennials and anybody below millennials use IMDb to search anything that they're looking for in that media space. So it really helps you connect to perhaps an audience you might not be getting to. And as we've said, clients buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And a podcast is an amazing way for them to get to know you, because you're there, you end up being slightly more vulnerable because you are there all of the time and you don't know what your guest is going to say next. So you sometimes have to respond. Well, you always have to respond as you would authentically you. So that's the end of me talking at you, so that we could actually, so I'll skip back.